In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the text tool. Now, the text tool is located over here. It looks like a letter T, and it's also quick keyed to quick button T. There is a variety of different methods, but we'll just start off with the type tool and go from there. Now, with the type tool, if you click in one spot, it'll lay down text according to whatever the settings are that you already had, which many of those things can be changed. You can also click and drag to lay out an area. In both scenarios, it'll lay out a dummy text and just fill in the area so that you can play around with it, because you don't always know what kind of text you want to use or type into there as much as where you're putting it. In either scenarios, changing over to the move tool will allow you to move those around individually. Then changing back into the text tool or double clicking onto the section will allow you to go back into typing. And so you can change those words. Now, selecting over the entire area or individual areas will allow you to change facets about it. Now, we can use the top bar to change things like the color of the fill, or even if we want to have a stroke around it and how big that stroke is. We can also play around with things like the character and what character we want each word to be. And if I highlight specific areas, I can also use things like the eyedropper tool to highlight other areas so that it'll copy that. This also works with various shapes. So if I set up a shape, I can change, the properties of those. I'm going to make this black and white with a 1 point stroke, and I'm going to select the text, use the eyedropper, and I'm going to borrow the info from that. Notice that if you borrow info from another type font, it borrows also that type font. Many of these properties in the top bar, we can see that we can change the character, what kind of font type it is. If I wanted to create an italic or a bold, as well as I can change size, as well as things like paragraph, alignment, and even make these things warp around. Also on the side of the properties, we'll have things like appearance of the fill and stroke, and the same sort of things that we've seen of the characters palette that will allow you to change what kind of font type, stroke size, and a whole bunch of other facets like how spaced out letters are. And if we click the more options, we can see that it gets down to even certain things like letter rotation, as well as letter like the vertical scale, so how tall it is or how wide it is. And we have a lot of different options in paragraph as well as indentation. Now, of the type tool, the type tool in Illustrator is a very interesting thing, and the fact that it also can relate to the shapes that we create. So if I wanted to type out something inside of a shape, notice, I'm gonna get a little bit closer, as I have the type tool, when I get close to the shape, there is a circular pattern, and that is auto switching over to the area type tool, asking us to type in that area. So when I use the area type, and I click in, I can add in words within that circle. And no matter what I start to type in, it'll stay only within that shape. Now we can see that this is a little bit small, so I probably, if I want to keep this, I might have to change that size. And while this is circular-like, it might look a little bit better if my type font was a little bit smaller, so I could see more of that oval shape. But we can see that we have some control here. Another version of this is the type on a path. So instead of typing on the inside, I can have it follow the path, the outside, and we can see that this types around it. And all we have to do is go back into the type tool, any version of the type tool, click on it, and we can start changing aspects of the words individually and kind of playing around with these and exploring the different ways that we want this text to exist. There we go. make this even just a little bit bigger so I can give a little bit of space. And because these are all vector tools, there's a lot of ways that we can shape, resize, and readjust depending on what we want to happen in these individual designs. There we go, playing around. Not quite finished yet, but that is the type tool.